Hello class 5, let's have our online science class. And our first term examination is just near at hand. I hope you all prepare for your coming exam. And we are continuing revision of the chapters. As we already completed all the chapters and the question answers too. Today we will revise the chapter 10, our universe. In this chapter we already learned about the solar system. The word solar system refers to the sun and all the objects that travel around it. What are the objects? Those are planets, natural satellites such as moon, asteroid belt, comets and meteoroids. And sun is the center of the solar system. The solar system holds 8 planets and countless smaller objects in its orbit with its gravitational force. According to the distance from the sun, there are 8 planets in the solar system. These are Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune. And earlier Pluto was considered as a planet, but now it comes in the category of dwarf planet. Pluto is considered nowadays as a dwarf planet. The 4 planets which are closest to the sun are Mercury, Venus, Earth and Mars. And these planets are called as terrestrial planets because they have solid rocky surfaces. So remember, Mercury, Venus, Earth and Mars are called as terrestrial planets. And the 2 outer planets beyond the orbit of Mars, Jupiter and Saturn are known as gas giants because they are made of gases like hydrogen and helium. And the more distant planets, Uranus and Neptune, are called as ice giants. The Earth is the 3rd planet from the sun. It was formed somewhere around 4.54 billion years ago and is the only planet known to support life. Our Earth is the only planet which supports life. Because the environment of our Earth is suitable to live and suitable for the living organisms. Now the structure of the Earth. There are 3 parts of the Earth: the crust, the mantle and the core. You can see here in this picture the structure of the Earth. Firstly, the crust. Crust is the outermost layer of the Earth. When you look at this diagram, what do you think? Yes, it just looks like an egg. And the outermost coating is crust, and the white part is called as mantle, and the inner part is called as core, just like an egg. The crust is the outermost layer of the Earth. First is about the crust, so it is the outermost layer of the Earth, and it has continents and oceans. There are humans, animals and plants that live on the Earth's crust. The crust is made up of rocks and its thickness varies from 5 km under the ocean seafloor to 31 kilometers under the continents. Some minerals like silicon, aluminium, calcium, sodium and potassium are found in the Earth's crust. Then is the mantle. Next part. The layer under the crust. Mantle is the layer under the crust. And this layer is about 2,900 kilometers thick. Its upper part is hard and made up of rocks, while the lower part is hot and molten like honey. When a volcano erupts, magma comes out of this layer in the form of lava. Iron and magnesium are found here. And next part is the core. The core is the innermost layer and the center of the earth. It is about 6,900 kilometers across. It has two parts. The core has two parts. The inner core, which is a solid ball made up of iron and nickel, and the outer core, which is in liquid state. So, these are the three parts of the earth: the crust, the mantle and the core. Next is about the sun. The sun is a huge ball of fire and gases. And sun gives us heat and light, And sun is the source of energy in our planet Earth. It is a star and the center of the solar system. The Earth and all the other planets revolve around the sun. If you consider solar system as a family, then you can tell that sun is the head of the family. Okay? And the earth and all the other planets revolve around the sun. We already know that in solar system there are 8 planets. These all planets and their satellites revolve around the sun. And the sun has a thin layer of atmosphere. It is called as corona, which we can see during an eclipse, solar eclipse. And the light from the sun takes 8 minutes to reach to the earth. If a hollow sun was filled up with spherical earths, then around 9,60,000 earths would fit inside. The earth orbits the sun at a distance of about 15,000,000 kilometers. The sun consists of gases like hydrogen and helium. With great pressure, hydrogen changes into helium and releases a lot of heat, light and energy, which we call as solar energy. And solar energy is very important to us. If there was no solar energy, there was no life on earth. And next is about the moon. Moon is the natural satellite of the earth and has no light of its own. It is one of the largest natural satellites in the solar system. It reflects the light of the sun. It is about 3,84,400 kilometers away from the earth, and it takes around 27 days to complete the orbit around the earth. And the surface of the moon Despite being so close to the Earth, it is quite different from the Earth. There is no atmosphere on the Moon. It has craters, mountains, and plains with huge dust. Craters are formed when meteorites crash on the Moon's surface. The surface is billions of years old, and the Moon has a crust, upper and lower mantles, and an iron-rich core in the center. It has very less gravity, 1/6 that of the Earth. There is no water, so life is not possible on the Moon. The first space flight that landed on the Moon with humans was Apollo 11, which launched from Kennedy Space Center in Florida on July 20, 1969. It carried 3 American astronauts, Neil Armstrong, Edwin Aldrin, and Michael Collins. Neil Armstrong was the first man to step on the Moon, and Neil Armstrong and Edwin Aldrin stayed on the Moon's surface for about 2.5 hours, and Michael Collins manned the spacecraft. Now the phases of the Moon. Every day the Moon looks different when viewed from the Earth. The different appearances of the Moon are called as phases of the Moon. As the Moon reflects the light of the Sun and the Moon orbits the Earth, different parts of Moon get light from the Sun, and hence we see different shapes of the Moon every day. If one side of the Moon is dark and the light part is growing, then the Moon is referred to as waxing, moving towards a full moon. If one side of the Moon is dark and the light part is shrinking, then the Moon is referred to as waning. Clear? Next is eclipse. The Earth and the Moon are opaque objects. That means light cannot pass through them. Both Earth and the Moon receive light from the Sun. When sunlight falls on them, they cast shadows. And the Earth and the Moon both are revolving. When the Earth, the Moon, and the Sun form a straight line, the one which is in middle receives the sunlight, whereas the other one which is behind does not, or maybe partially or completely receives the sunlight. The one in the middle casts a shadow on the one which is behind. This is called eclipse. Clear? So firstly, lunar eclipse. When the Earth comes in between the Sun and the Moon is not able to receive sunlight and the Earth casts a shadow on the Moon. It is called as lunar eclipse. When the Earth's shadow completely blocks the sunlight, and the shadow is called as umbra. You can see here in this diagram, umbra. And when the Earth blocks only a part of the sunlight, that shadow is called as penumbra. During a total lunar eclipse, we cannot see the Moon at all. Okay? Now, solar eclipse. When the Sun and the Moon and the Earth come in a straight line and the Moon is in the center, it is called as solar eclipse. The Moon blocks the sunlight and casts a shadow on the Earth. A solar eclipse can be partial or total, but the duration of solar eclipse is very short. The Moon is a natural satellite of the Earth as it keeps orbiting around the Earth. Other planets too have their moons which orbit them. Man has also made spacecraft that orbit in the space, and they are called as artificial satellite. So actually Moon or the other satellites which orbit around the other planets are natural satellites. But man made spacecrafts which orbit in the space are called as artificial satellite. Aryabhatta was the first Indian satellite sent into space in 1975. Other Indian satellites are INSAT 2A, 2B, Cartosat, etc. The Mars orbiter mission called Mangalyaan was launched on November 5th, 2013 by the Indian Space Research Organization. It is called as ISRO, ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization. Some satellites are used for collecting the data on weather and they are called as weather satellites. The weather forecast that we get is through these satellites. Some satellites help us to communicate on mobile phones, that is, those are called as communication satellites. They also help in television transmission from one country to another, internet, etc. And some satellites give information to the scientists on the solar system. They are called as scientific satellites. So, these are all about satellites. And this was the chapter. I hope you all understand the chapter very well, and you all know that our exam mode is just choose the correct option. You have to choose the correct option and just click on it, and in this way you can answer the question. So you all get ready for your coming exam. Best of luck to all of you, and this much for today. Bye to all of you.